Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we're reacting to part 2 of Dumb Ways People Died.
And shout out to Be Amazed and make sure to go like and subscribe to his channel after this video.
Let's get straight into it.
Play!
Natural selection is Mother Nature's way of making sure people get smarter.
Yeah.
But even after 200,000 years of human evolution, some of us are still making
some people
really
are religious,
terrible
they believe in
choices.
God.
Let's
Some
take a
people
look at some of the
are
most foolish examples now.
Now, this is second most Darwin Award.
Number 20.
20 is
Way too hot
way
spring.
too hot
Have you ever
spring.
fancied a dip in a hot spring?
Knock on wood.
I know I have, especially when clothing is optional. Maybe this was
Wait,
what
what?
Colin Scott was thinking when
So-
he straight off the trail at Yellowstone in
Whoa!
2016 to go swimming in one of its
Swimming.
famous hot
Hey,
springs.
swimming
This
on
activity
what?
is forbidden by park rules, but
Forbidden.
Colin, a former nature reserve volunteer, thought he knew better.
Volunteer.
That is, until he slipped into the Norris Geyser Basin,
That
a
is so
thermal bath of boiling acidic water with
acid.
below surface temperatures of up to
Acidic water.
459 degrees.
Jesus.
I've heard that some like it hot,
Yeah,
but
hot
that's just ridiculous.
That's like 10 hot
Sadly
tubs
for
put
Colin,
into
the
one.
only remains found were
Maybe
his
a
wallet
billion
and
hot tubs put into
flip-flops.
one.
Number 19. Safety first.
Safety
If there's
first.
one thing I know about
That's always
safes,
a good
it's that
thing.
they're heavy. I guess someone should have
Safety-
told this hapless
safety
burglar from Indiana, who broke into a man's garage and tried to lift an antique 900-pound safe suspended on a
lift a
floor jack.
900-pound
When the
safe.
homeowner returned to check his garage, he found the unlucky thief
Easy.
crushed to death. The owner of the safe said that
Boys.
stealing the safe would
Well,
have been pointless
maybe not then.
because it was
didn't-
completely empty,
didn't really
crushed to death by an
get
empty
robbed.
safe. I'm sure there's a lesson here somewhere,
safe fell on
and
the
I think it's
rubber.
safe to say
And
this
died.
burglar learned it.
So we did
Number
work.
18.
Number 18.
Don't forget, your,
your
pin.
pin.
There are few things more satisfying than when
My hairpin.
bullies get what they deserve. Especially big ones.
Phone.
Cambodian military policeman Kim
I got
Sackhorn,
fingerprint. Oh.
nicknamed Big Giant, got
Kim
exactly
Sackhorn,
that when he
nickname-
tried to extort money and
Wait,
crystal
is it
meth
that
from a
big
local
or
dealer.
that big?
To scare the dealer,
or
Kim
is
pulled the
it
pin
tall,
from a
a
grenade.
giant?
Unsurprisingly,
Cool.
this tactic worked, and the dealer handed
Yeah,
over the
just
goods.
make it
Ken then put the live
but I was just
grenade
wondering if
back
it
in his
was that
pocket. Did it ever cross Kim's mind how dumb this was? By the time this massive
What are you
monster reached
doing?
his motorcycle,
He
the
put his
grenade
live grenade in
exploded,
his pocket,
blasting the
and
big
it
giant
exploded.
into tiny little
What is you with
pieces.
grenades?
Number
I don't
17.
know.
Running away.
One
Run away
cyclist. Unless you've got ET in your basket, you probably shouldn't be
It
cycling
was.
on an
Don't
airport
forget your
runway.
pin.
This
Oh, yeah?
advice never reached Brazilian cyclist Marcelo, who was crossing an airfield near Sao Paulo while listening to his Walkman. Yes, it was 1997, but
1997.
that's no excuse. The 25-year-old was
He's probably
totally
close.
clueless as he collided with the propeller
That's why
of
you
a
should never
landing
wear
plane,
headphones on a bike ride
mangling
unless
the blades
you're
and damaging
right
the
on a
wing in the process.
and
I'd usually say
not on an
wear a
airport.
helmet, folks, but in this case,
Plane
I'm not
crushed
sure that would have helped.
That's
Number 16.
16.
Fast food
Fast
fatality.
food
In an
fatality.
attempt to
Wish I
rip
could
off
see the
their
video when I do the
workplace,
edit.
two managers at Burger
What?
King cooked up a
I
whopper
get to
of
see
a
the video when I
plan,
do the edit.
staging a
I'm
fake
looking
robbery
back.
and arson in order to steal over
Yeah, but he's
$4,000 from the
wealthy.
restaurant.
4,000.
22-year-old night manager Lisa was bound
Oh,
with
yeah,
duct
yeah.
tape and shut into the walk-in cooler by her
4,000.
accomplice.
I wish I had.
Unluckily for Lisa, the fire department didn't show up until the morning when she was found freezing and semi-conscious. She later died in the hospital from hypothermia. According to
What's
investigators,
hypothermia?
Lisa could have easily freed herself from her bindings and
That
escaped
was
the unlocked refrigerator,
most-
which is exactly why she makes the
If I was
list.
that girl, I'll be scared
Number
for my
15.
life.
Tiger toy.
Tiger toy.
Playing with your
Because
food
you was
is an
like-
unattractive habit.
Yeah, number
but some
15, tiger
creatures
toy.
just
Oh,
can't help it. A mugger in
Number
South
15,
Africa found this
tiger
out the hard way after robbing a couple at knife point. The mugger fled the scene and clambered over a nearby fence. What he'd forgotten was that he was at Bloemfontein Zoo, and the fences were there for a reason. Suddenly, an ambush of bored Bengal tigers was upon him, and he quickly became their new plaything. After the body was found, a zoo spokesperson said the tigers had been fed the previous afternoon. Otherwise, there would have
Fed his
been
body?
nothing left.
Yeah.
Number 14. Ahead for
Number
chemistry.
14, ahead for
In the age of
chemistry.
pipe blockages and fatbergs, we should know by now not to mess with the
chemistry.
sewers. In 2008,
even
a
know
biology teacher from Sofia,
2008.
Bulgaria
We
was
can listen
driving
to this.
home
We-
with two friends.
not going to talk on this
Bystanders
because
saw
we
her
need to
car
learn
come to a
some
sudden stop,
chemistry.
and all three passengers got out and started pouring leftover jars of chemicals.
What are you
down the
doing?
road.
Why would you
These
put...
noxious chemicals
doctors
included
as well.
diethyl ether and methanol, both highly flammable liquids. The cocktail
boat-
of chemicals in the
boat-
enclosed space of the sewers caused an explosion so powerful that the manhole cover was launched into the air, instantly decapitating the polluting teacher.
The head
The
flew
moral
off
of the
their
story,
body.
don't mess
That-
with chemicals,
Wait, the head
or
wasn't
you
there.
could
The
lose
arm,
your
arm,
head.
leg.
Number
They poured
13,
like,
Flaming Rodeo.
potions down the
This
drain
is
and all
an
that.
example
I have
of
a number.
you should have
And it
known
went-
better. I don't know what
Radio.
is. In Washington in 2010,
Ooh,
during
2010.
the American Sprint Car Series, 2 crew members
15 years
dreamed up
ago.
an insane thrill ride. They poured
Nice.
4 gallons of methanol
Alright,
into a
4
55-gallon
gallons
barrel,
into a 55
sat on the barrel, then lit the bong hole.
Oh
These
my.
2 bright sparks thought the barrel would shoot across the parking lot like a rocket in some kind of fiery rodeo. What
That
they
room
actually
definitely
created
agreed.
was a makeshift bomb, which quickly blew them sky high. Both men ended up in the hospital, and one of them died. Not sure I want to
what
think
I'm
about the
saying.
aftermath between their legs. Number 12.
Oh.
Suddenly sluggish.
Suddenly
Most people wouldn't
sluggish.
have the guts to eat a slug.
No one.
Turns
Number
out
12.
this guy
This is bad
didn't
way.
either. A young rugby player called Sam from Sydney, Australia was at a party in 2010
Wait, try
when the
listen, oh,
slug
yeah.
sped across the table. His friends dared him to eat it, and he did.
Why would you eat a
Not long
slug?
afterwards,
Why would you
Sam
eat a
contracted
slug?
a rat lungworm, a
Ooh.
parasitic worm spread by rodents. The parasite infested Sam's brain,
look, it's a
putting him
brain.
in a coma and leaving
Ooh,
him paralyzed.
we have-
Several years later, he died as a result of this
Died.
prank gone wrong. I'm not sure
Prank
I
gone
even have to
wrong.
tell you this,
Prank
folks,
gone wrong.
but seriously,
gone
don't
wrong.
eat slugs.
Well, obviously you don't eat
Number 11. Headless,
headless
chickens.
chickens.
In
Number 11.
1997, a group of
1997,
coworkers
once
in
again.
Holland were
Second
on a
one
tour
from
bus. and Some of the
1997.
bolder employees stuck their heads out of the window
The
to
good old
enjoy
days.
the air. You'd think
Yeah,
you'd
you
notice a
definitely
tunnel
did.
approaching down the road,
You
but
would
2
do.
men kept their heads out as the bus entered a viaduct. And by this
Video
point,
boy.
it was too late. The 2 men were not decapitated, but suffered severe head
Why
trauma
would
and
they-
snapped necks.
They
killing
forgot
them
to put their
both
heads back in the
instantly.
voice.
Way to ruin
See,
the
I was
field trip,
born in-
guys.
Going in there.
Number 10. Fatal
I don't know.
Footsie.
I don't know if
We've
you'd
heard
let me
stories
share
of
when I
idiots
was
playing
born.
Russian roulette, but this one
10.
tops them
Well,
all.
you'd be 11 then.
In 1999, Cambodia
So, I was born in
littered with all
2014,
kinds of
you were born
discarded
in
weaponry after
2015.
decades of armed
You were born
conflict.
in
In a place called Svay Riang, 3
1982.
friends had spent the evening drinking.
This was a good
After
damn video,
hours of
boy.
arguing, one of the men pulled out a 25-year-old unexploded anti-tank mine he'd found in his backyard. The man then tossed it under the
Tick, tick,
table.
boom.
The 3 men began taking turns to first
Tick,
drink,
tick, boom.
then stomp on the mine.
Uh-oh.
Other villagers
Tick,
fled
tick,
in terror,
boom.
and minutes later, an enormous explosion
Tick,
occurred,
tick.
killing all 3 men. Personally, I think the gene
tick.
pool might have benefited from this one. Don't you?
Yeah.
Number 9.
9.
Domestic
Domestic
disturbance.
disturbance.
Arguing with your partner can be an emotional roller coaster, but this man's reaction was shocking.
You have a
in
partner.
Buenos Aires, Argentina, in
Like
1998,
children.
a man decided that the best way to win an argument with his wife was to pick her up and throw her off the balcony. They were
Oh, my
equally
family!
young, but bizarrely, the woman became entangled in the power lines below. And what may have been an effort to save her, or maybe finish her off, the man leapt from the balcony, aiming for the wires. The airborne abuser missed the wires
He tried to
completely,
flush
plunging to his
nobody
death.
home.
Somehow,
They were
his
arguing,
wife
so
managed
he
to
threw
swim
it off
to
the
a nearby
balcony, got
balcony,
trapped
and was
in the wires,
subsequently
so he tried
rescued.
rescuing,
I'm no
but died.
Buddhist.
And missed the
That's
wires.
karma.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me.
Number 8.
Gaso.
Got so clean.
Keeping
Gotta
box fresh
clean.
trainers clean
Gotta
is a
clean,
must,
gotta clean.
but this method might be going too far.
Ooh, I
In
need
1998, 67-year-old Texan Reva Nix was
67?
washing her tennis shoes. Wait for it, with gasoline. When the shoes, which she was still wearing, were ignited by a nearby candle.
Oh.
Reva had to run with flaming feet to her neighbor's house. who
Flaming
quickly
feet?
doused her feet with a hose.
Wait.
It was too late, however, and Reva later died from her burns.
Oh.
The local sheriff warned others against using gasoline in this way, since it was apparently common practice. Well, I guess that's Texas for you.
Ooh, hold
Number 7.
it.
Considerate car thief.
Considerate
Some people
car
have
thief.
pretty twisted
Number
moral codes, but
7.
this car thief from Pittsburgh had a bit of logic to his larceny. Randy Nestor stole plenty of cars, and whenever a stolen vehicle became hot, he'd torch it. reasoning that the fire damage would help the owners collect on the insurance. Pretty thoughtful, right? It turns out Randy was the victim of his own virtue when he set fire to a van that he was still inside.
He's so
On
dumb.
trying to escape, Randy found that the driver's side handle was broken and the door locked. Randy burned up inside the van and was pretty much killed by his own
What is that
kindness
position?
and
I
stupidity.
don't know.
Number 6.
says
Floridian pigeon.
Floridian
It seems
pigeon.
that idiots are drawn to power lines like moths to a flame.
What?
Here, the infamous
are you
Florida man
doing?
returns with a tale that would have Thomas Edison face-palming in his
What?
grave. When Elian Garcia Rivera's pet pigeon decided to perch on a power line,
Uh-oh.
he thought the best way to dislodge his feathered friend would be to retrieve a 20-foot-long aluminum pool pole and jab it into the high-voltage wires.
Oh.
This Floridian only succeeded in turning himself into a human superconductor and was killed instantly. If only this Florida man had listened a little more in science class. Number 5.
Time
Terrorists. Daylight savings time causes a lot of confusion, but in this instance, it proved fatal. In 1999,
1999.
Israel turned the clocks back a day early,
True
but
fact.
Palestinians
Everyone in
refused to accept this
1999
Zionist
thought the
time,
world was going
except
to
for 4
end
terrorists who'd
when it
planned the
turned
bombing that
2000.
day.
Is that true?
Their bombs were set to go
Yes.
off at
It
6:30
was
p.m.
actually true.
But
Were
poor
you?
communication meant
Were
the
you part
would-be
of that?
bombers were an hour behind schedule. The explosives
Why did they think
detonated
it was
while the
going
terrorists were
to
en route, preventing any further bloodshed.
Jesus.
I think we can say these dummies got what they deserved. A one-way ticket to the
Anything.
afterlife. Number 4.
Okay.
Faithful flotation.
Faithful-
I'll
faithful
admit, I've tried to walk on water. Anyone who says they haven't taken a run at a pool with the hopes of making
Why are
it
you trying
across
to walk
is
on
probably
water?
lying. So when in 2016 a Zimbabwean pastor promised he would walk out into a river and rise above the water, his congregation were intrigued. After fasting for a week, the pastor waded 30 meters into a river known as Crocodile River.
Crocodile
You
River.
think the name might have put him off, but no. Pastor Jonathan was devoured by 3 hungry crocodiles before he even had the chance
I'm
to
guessing he
perform
was a
his
priest.
miracle. So much for divine intervention. Number 3. Peeping
The
Tom.
3 peeping
People
Tom.
love to catch a glimpse of something they're not supposed to see. Like this Calgary man who died in a shopping
How?
mall last year. Though
Last
his motives
year?
were unknown, I think
Depending
it's
on
pretty
when this
obvious
video
what
was
this guy
made,
was up to
a
when
guy
he climbed
died
through a
last year,
vent in
apparently.
order to access the area
Not this
behind a
year,
wall
not
in the
last-
women's
last year.
bathroom.
People
The
die all
man
the time,
became
don't worry.
trapped there and was
Yeah,
found dead
you'll
3
be
days
on
later.
there. Oh.
Police have not revealed the cause of death, but it's safe
That's
to
a
say
scary
this
face.
peeping Tom got a little more excitement than he bargained
He
for.
he
Number
climbed
2.
through the vent.
Just buy a
the
ticket.
bathroom.
There are smart ways to save money,
And died.
and
You
there are
do?
dumb ways to save money. And then there's
Have you
this
told
guy.
me?
Mr. Zhang was visiting Ningbo Younger Zoo in China
Ningbo
with his
Zhang.
family.
Shut
He realized he couldn't afford the $20 to buy a ticket for himself. So he doubled back and decided to scale the fence in order to
Okay.
access the zoo. After a successful climb, Mr. Zhang landed in the tiger enclosure and was set up by a trio of tigers who quickly ripped him to pieces.
Yay.
I guess he paid the price after all.
Oh, why is that
Number
so
1. Stings in the
Stings in the
tail.
tail.
The Asian giant hornet is the world's biggest hornet. And
A
it's
hornet?
the stuff of nightmares.
We've had
Large,
that in
aggressive,
our
and
house
venomous,
before.
a swarm of these insects can kill a human. And they do. Around 40 people are killed in Japan each year by hornet stings.
people in Japan.
So the last thing you should do is bug them. In this hilarious yet shocking video, a Chinese man is shown dancing with a hornet's nest and throwing it about after removing it. If you want to elicit stings from dangerous flying creatures, tearing their house down and juggling with it is a sure way to do it.
Yeah.
Even with his protective suit, the man suffers multiple stings and is later shown being carried off on a stretcher, his body stiff and full of venom.
obviously.
I think he needed a better suit. So which Darwin Award winner would you get?
That was...
Very more interesting than the last.
Yeah.
Anyways, we hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below what stuff we should react to next. Bye!